What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Teddy Atlas. Get this. Teddy Atlas says pound for pound star has always been overrated. Legendary trainer and analyst Teddy Atlas has claimed that one of the modern day greats has always been overrated in the sport and doesn't compare to the legends from his country. Saul Canelo Alverez has been the face of boxing for a number of years now, becoming a four-division world champion and one of the greatest non-heavyweight commercial draws in the sport's history. However, the Mexican has always had his doubters who argue that some of his top wins came by controversial split decisions and that his record was not as good as it looked on paper. One of these critics is Teddy Atlas, who trained Michael Moore to a world title in 1994 and had spells in his corner of the likes of Wilfred Benitez, Barry McGuigan, Timothy Bradley, and Alexander Povetkin, while breaking down Canelo's recent points decision win over John Ryder on his podcast, The Fight. Atlas said Canelo's resume isn't comparable to other Mexican icons. Okay, and this is what he said. He said, Canelo has always been overrated. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not a real good fighter, but he is not the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. He is not the greatest Mexican fighter. He is overrated. He probably lost to Erislandy Lara. He lost twice to Triple G. I know it's old news. It's old history. He lost to the first two against Golovkin, especially the first one. He lost to Mayweather every round, except for which the judge, who should be in jail. If you just look at his resume, it's not even close to the resume of your great Mexican warriors. There are so many of them. That doesn't mean that he's not a real good, solid fighter who didn't progress as the years went on. He did progress. He got better and better, but I think he's sliding back. Those are the words of Teddy Atlas, and let me counterpunch. People are going to see this as haterade, hatred, whatever. But the examples that Teddy Atlas used were absolutely true. Okay. Especially the way Canelo won. And I think what people did, I think in Golden Boy with Canelo Alvarez, that was the primary horse in that stable. I think they protected Canelo to the point where he wouldn't and couldn't lose a fight anyway. There was no way that Canelo was going to lose to Triple G. There wasn't. Triple G was older. He was already 35 or 36 years of age by that time. He didn't really speak English. No, neither did Canelo, to be fair. But Canelo was just the face of boxing over here in America. And Oscar de la Hoya had a strong hold on who had anything to say about beating his fighter. Okay. If he had anything to do with it, no, that wouldn't have happened. Okay. And I think that because he had that protection, I think the protection begat hatred, begat animosity, begat dislike. Because whenever you give someone anything and other people see it and other people witness it, they automatically, throw a cold shoulder, including Teddy Atlas. I seen Canelo, and one of my biggest beefs was the Mayweather and the Lara fight. Yes, Mayweather beat Canelo, but it was like a split decision, or no, it was a majority decision because someone had it a tie. Lara, someone had a scorecard that only had Lara winning 3 rounds. Those type of things that go on in the sport convinced me that this is the sport that I love, that I hate so much, for that reason. because there's no way in Hades, no way that Lara won 3 rounds. There's no way that Floyd Money Mayweather tied with Canelo. Nobody could have had that a tie if they were actually looking at the fight. But the truth of the matter was they weren't, because she already knew how she had to score the fight. She had to score the fight due to the way that she was convinced or persuaded to score the fight. Fill in the blanks, okay? But I think that Canelo did in his later part, in this portion of his career, because that was the earlier part of Canelo's career when he was actually with Golden Boy, and he got with Eddie Hearn. I don't think he had the protection anymore, but I don't think that Canelo probably even knew he had it. And when you don't know you have protection of winning fights, you have a mindset of, hey, I won every fight based on my ability and my ability alone. Okay. Just like he thought he beat Bivol. And I'm like, how did you think you beat Bivol? That's easy, because for years you were with a promoter that would not allow you to lose. Oscar De La Hoya would not allow him to lose, just like Oscar De La Hoya has recently said that I wouldn't have never allowed Canelo to fight Bivol. Okay, and it wasn't because he was bigger, just so much bigger. No, it was because he was just that talented. He's a guy that you don't know anything about. He's very talented, very an active fighter, very young, very strong, very big as well. But the style would give Canelo problems, and Oscar knew it. There would be no way that he would want that fight to happen. But with Teddy Atlas saying that he's not better than other Mexican fighters, I think Canelo in the last portion of his career has done a lot, in a very short amount of time. I think Canelo's probably burnt out. He may not be that same fighter, but look what he's done. He's unified a whole division with what? 3 out of 4 of those fighters were undefeated champions. Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, Callum Smith were all undefeated, and were all tough, very tough fighters, very talented fighters. He took those guys' O's from them. And he ate them like donuts. So, yes, he's done a lot in the sport. Did he look good the other day? No, he didn't. He looked like he missed a step. He looked like Lomachenko looks to me, or, well, not now because we don't know, but his last performance, he didn't look as well. And sometimes fighters burn out. Maybe they can't get up for a fight. Maybe he couldn't get up for a fight with John Ryder. Maybe he needed that fight simply because, it was necessary. Maybe he needed the rounds. We don't know. But is he the best Mexican of all time? No, I don't think so, because, you have dude, it's Mexico. You know how many fighters came out of Mexico that were better than Canelo? And Canelo's freaking good. But is he overrated? Yes, I have to agree, based on the protection that they gave him, because of the perception that people think that because he's only lost to Floyd Money Mayweather in a big-ass Bivol, people think that, he can't be beaten by anybody else. Well, the truth of the matter is he's been beaten by other people. It's just you'll never see it, because in your mind you think he's only lost to a certain pool of people, where those fights that he did have tough fights with could have went either way. So that means if it did go the other way, you wouldn't look at Canelo as the same person or the same fighter at all. If Canelo had 4 losses instead of 2, people would look at him a lot different. If he lost to Lara and Golovkin, would you really look at Canelo the same? Would he have probably got that DAZN deal for $365 million? More than likely, probably not. Okay, so I think what people bank on is the whole perception of Canelo only losing a certain amount of fights despite the amount of wins. Okay, but I will give Canelo this. At 168, he's probably had his best performances in his career if compared to the first part. Lara, Mayweather, Golovkin, none of those guys that were very tough and difficult fights for him, he couldn't seem to get a knockdown or let alone a knockout. Okay, so a lot of people question if he won or not. But Teddy Atlas is a guy that doesn't give a shit on what people think about him. He's going to speak his mind. And I don't think there's really bias in him except for Iron Mike Tyson because of what Mike done in the past. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of this Counterpunch on Teddy Atlas. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.